Morning. We've had a lot of requests to do a video on a tour of our van, basically. So we thought today would be a great day to do it. It's not too sunny, too cold, or too hot. So we bought our van back in the spring this year. It's a 2019 Ram ProMaster 3500 extended. It was built by a company called Roadtrek. So this model is the Zion. It's the extended length one that's 20 feet 9 inches long. They also make a shorter version of this, which is the SRT, which is about, I think, 19.5 feet long. But we chose this one for various reasons, which we'll get into. Again, it's 20 feet 9 inches long. So we can park it in, I would say 95% of the parking spots that we encounter, we are able to park this thing and don't have too much problem. It sticks out just slightly, but we get away with it, and it fits fairly well, for sure. I had very few problems in parking this in most places. It's also 6 feet 11 inches wide, which is quite wide, and gives us lots of room inside. And up to the top of the air conditioner, it's 9 feet 5 inches. So those are just a few of the specs on dimensions that might be helpful for you to know if you're in the market looking for one. Yeah, so one of the first things that I want to show you is it's got its own power awning, which has a switch just up here on the control panel, and it's actually pretty nifty. It works really well. We had a manual one before, and it was a bit of a pain. But I'm not going to take it all the way out, but it's got supports that come down here that mount into the side on front and back, or they can come straight down and be pegged into the ground. But I believe Fiamma makes this awning, but it goes out quite far and is an excellent option for sure. So also another thing that Roadtrek does is the power steps. So you can have a button in there that disables it, so it doesn't stay out when you're driving, or you can have it that it stays out when you're parked. Right now I have it that goes in automatically, so it's pretty nifty. And again, they have it on the passenger side and driver's side. But I don't really like them. They're pretty slow, and you tend to hit your shins on them more than what they're worth. And I'm not that old yet that I really need that step. Maybe if you have mobility issues, it would be handy to have. But I've been thinking about disconnecting the front ones. But anyhow, so on the exterior here, this is something that I added, and these are. The problem you have is that when you go away for the day, there's no air inside. You've got the fantastic fan, but your other windows, if you leave them down, then somebody can break in. So you need circulation to go through the van when the fantastic fan's going. So I picked these up online, and they're just louvered metal pieces with screen on them so bugs don't get in. And they just fit in your window. I'll show you how they work. So they just basically flip out like that. And when you want to put them in, you just set them in over the ledge of the window. And up they go. So they really help a lot in putting airflow, bringing air into the cab, and taking the hot air out through the fantastic fan. These things are worth their weight in gold for sure. On the outside of this side also, we have a rear and a front porch light. They're actually quite bright, but they work well. Everybody always wonders what this is. And I wondered too at the beginning, but all that is the slide for this door when it opens and goes that way. Underneath here, they have a little hinge cover, and that's, you have to get down to see, but there's the propane tank down there, and that's a permanent mounted propane tank that also has a quick disconnect for a barbecue as well. So that's how you get at that. Also on this side and the other side, these mirrors are power, which is really nice when you get into tight parking lots and stuff like that. You can just hit a button inside and they'll fold in, so you don't have to worry about somebody taking your mirror off. So that is also a great feature. Yeah, so for an engine, we have a 3.6 liter Pentastar engine that Chrysler puts in. Again, this is a stock cargo van that is basically ordered with nothing, and then it's totally chopped and, you know, customized by Roadtrek. But so it's got a 3.6 liter engine in it. Gas mileage on a couple of the trips that we did this summer, I drive pretty much, you know, at 100 Ks, you know, kilometers for you guys in the States. That's about 60 miles an hour roughly, and I keep it at that. I'm not in any big hurry to get anywhere. So, but I find that the gas mileage in decent conditions, I can usually get about 600 Ks on a tank of gas. So I'm figuring it's roughly around 18 miles to the gallon, which really I'm quite happy with. I'm sure in the mountains and that, you know, obviously it's going to take its toll and be a little less, and city driving, but average highway driving, yeah, it's quite decent. Over on this side, basically the same, other than we have the exhaust for a propane furnace. It's got a 16,000 BTU propane furnace, which forced air, which works quite well. And then over here we have basically the hot water heater, and it's a tankless water heater, so it's on demand. To be truthful, we have never used it yet. Underneath here we have where the tanks are for the sewage, and this thing is a real pain to get open. It's just, here we go. And so we have the black water valve here. We got a gray water valve over here, and this has two options. It has a hose here that comes out that can go into the outlet for the dumping station, and it's on a pump. It's a macerator, it's called, and you press a button and it'll automatically, it's a pump basically that pumps the all the waste out into the sewer. The other thing is if that macerator breaks down, which we've never had a problem with it, you can use gravity dump. So it's also got this here where you can take it off and just, I have a hose that I've never used, just a small one that coils up just in case. And so if we got caught, then I can still put it on and dump it by gravity. On the Roadtreks, we had another one years ago. It was a 190 Versatile, and it just had the gravity dump, and we had a lot of problems at some of the places because the outlet was so low you couldn't get enough height to get it to the sewer by gravity, so it was a real pain. So that macerator really works well. Yeah, so basically for the tanks, there's a freshwater tank. It's approximately 37 gallons, which is a lot of water. Probably weighs about 200 pounds, but we find that it lasts us, we're pretty conservative with water, so we can get easy, usually 12 days out of that tank of water. So it's not bad at all, really. But it has a fill port right here at the side door, and there's a hole there. So the problem is 37 gallons of water is a lot of water. So if you've got big containers or something like that that you're trying to put in, if you don't have a hose or whatever, it's tough. So I made up a little pump, 12-volt pump that just plugs into the lighter here, and it basically will suck the water out of the 18-liter jugs and just pump it right into here. So I can put about 7 of those jugs in 5 gallon, 18 liters, something like that, into here pretty quickly with the little pump. So as far as the fill port for the gas, it's kind of strange. You're always used to it being back further, so you got to remember where it is. But it's just right here, just behind the driver's door, and it's up fairly close. But I put a locking gas cap on there, which I don't know whether I need it or not, but better to be safe than sorry. As far as the capacity for the gray water tank, it's approximately 23 gallons for the gray water tank and about 10 gallons for the black water. Now we find that, especially with the black water, we use the washroom as little as possible. I mean, it's great for at night and when you're traveling and you're not near a place and that. But I'd say that we probably have to dump about every 5 days. And that's being conservative. That's not with showering and stuff like that. So, you know, not real big. I would have liked it bigger, but it's all right. And then here, this is a really nice feature, and this is the outdoor shower. So basically, it's great if you come back from the beach and you want to just, you know, get sand off your feet. We've used it for washing hair and that, you know, or if you're out for a jog or something, just to kind of get the sweat off. It's excellent. Really handy to have that for sure. So around back here, up top, there's a that's the antenna. And so basically we have a 24-inch flat screen TV in there, and a DVD Blu-ray player. But when we get to we tend to boondock a lot. So when we're at wherever we're at, you know, in a city or in the country or whatever, we'll scan our TV, and that antenna often picks up channels. Depending how close you are to a big city, you can get a lot of channels, and then sometimes you'll get very few to none. But it's still really worth having. And then just underneath it is a backup camera, and that really helps a lot when you're trying to park and back up. So definitely well worthwhile having. Down here, there's a class 3 hitch, I believe. Not real heavy duty, but I think this thing can tow up to maybe 2,000 pounds. It's not really meant to do a lot of towing. Even though the 3.6 liter engine, I find on its own with everything fully loaded, does a really good job. If you get into we've been through a lot of the mountains in different places, and it handled it quite well. I'm sure if you get out to some of the bigger ones like the Rockies, which we have yet to be, but is on our list, it's probably going to work it a little harder for sure. But I'm definitely not disappointed with the power that 3.6 liter engine has. That was one of my concerns when we bought it, but it's turned out that it's been really good. So back to the hitch. This thing, like I say, is pretty high to get into, and so I bought this little hitch step, and it serves a couple purposes. One, to get up into the vehicle, and also I figured that if somebody rear ends me, if it's a very heavy impact, well, it's probably not going to do a whole lot, but if it's a light impact, it'll probably do more damage to their vehicle. But I'll just open up here at the back to show you the back. So like I say, you know, you can step up in here. It makes it so much easier. Or even for the curtains, sometimes when you got to undo the buckle there, it's pretty high, so it helps a lot for that. So as you can see, we got a galley style area through here. This back part here, we have our chairs, our Pico arm chairs. They're really great, and they fit in there really well, and are definitely got to have a beach umbrella for sure, so we always got that on board. In here there's a little place where I have a socket set and hose and a few other items in that, which is easy to get at. You'll see this piece around here, and that's all basically velcroed or glued velcroed in to the side inside, and it has a nice zip screen that fully keeps the bugs out. It's really excellent. And if you're in a really hot place where you don't have hookups, where you can't use the air, opening this back door with the screen on there and then the screen on the side door as well, and opening those two doors, you get a really great breeze throughout the whole van. It's absolutely a must for sure. It was an option, I think $800–900 option, but well worth it. At the back here they have a little storage place for the table, so it just pops out like that. And as you can see right here, that lid just pops off, and we have a little tube in the closet that sits there, and then that just sits into there so you can sit and eat here. And it also has one up front, which I'll show you later, where the front seats are and that. But this is nice storage for it here. It's just out of the way. It's never in your way at all. So another thing, this back area, like I say, so we have the TV there and the Blu-ray, and this, most of the time we leave down into a bed. It's actually a king size bed, believe it or not, and it's great. I love it. That was one of the big problems, that there was two things in this van that we basically said that we couldn't do without. One was a bigger bed, because our other one, we were sleeping head to toe this way, and this one we sleep that way. And my head was, feet were hitting that end, and my head was hitting that end. I'm about 6 feet tall, and it was so uncomfortable that I'd have to lay sideways, and then that would crunch Elaine over onto her side. And so we both said that we needed a longer bed for sure. And so this one definitely has that. Basically, so how that works is we got a power sofa. And so that goes out like that. And then underneath, there's this board that pulls out, and it comes right across and then fills in this gap. And then you have a nice big bed with, we put a pillow top mattress, about a 3-inch pillow top on there. And it's got lots of these LED lights, which are great too as well. They there's a ton of them in this thing. It's amazing. But so that's how the sofa works. And there's also seat belts here for 3 people. So you can carry, it's a 5-passenger van if that's what it's rated for with the seat belts. And yeah, I put a little fan. This was something I added. And it telescopes many different ways, and it's a 3-speed fan. And when you're cooking, you can blow it on you, or at bed at night, you can adjust it to whatever you want. And it is really low wattage, so it doesn't drain much for the batteries. We have our thermostat here for our heat and for our air conditioning. And then I added this display here for the solar controller. That's the solar controller for 270 watts of solar on the roof. And so the thing I didn't like about not having that interface or display was you didn't know how well it was charging. It'll give you basically how many amps you're charging and what your battery level is. And yeah, it just gives you a lot more idea of what's going on. So that was well worth it. So another really handy feature that they put in, and a lot of them too, is back here up top, the far corner and the other 3 corners of this bed area, they have basically, we have these long USB cables for charging our phones. So they just hang down, but they've got 3 of them right there. They also have a 12-volt lighter hookup there, and they have a 110 or 120 volt plug for the inverter if you turn your inverter on and you need AC power. They also have a lot of these little, again, little push LED lights. So there's tons of them in here. And basically that's pretty much it for back here, other than we have the AC right up here. And there's a bunch of vents and stuff. It is really loud. We don't use it that much because we're boondocking a lot. And the big thing with that is if you want to run them, we have, I guess I should have explained what we've got in this this thing, is it comes boondocking ready. And it has two 200 amp hour lithium ion batteries in it. It's got 270 watts of solar on the roof that help charge those batteries during the day, and don't underestimate how well that works. 270 watts, I was worried that wouldn't be enough. We go pretty much for trips and never plug in. We don't need to. Between the solar, and then what they've done is they've put what they call an underhood generator, and essentially all it is a secondary alternator that when you're driving, it also charges those lithium batteries. It's different from the engine battery, which it has its own alternator. And so between the driving and the solar, we never plug in. It's really great. So that's called the EcoTrek package that Roadtrek offers. And down below, under the seat here, it has a 2,000 watt inverter. So basically, if you need AC power, then there's a button. I'll show you the control panel, but there's a button to turn the inverter on, and what that does will take your battery power and will convert it to AC power instead of DC power, which everything else is pretty much DC. But like we have a microwave, the outlets if we want to run a toaster in the morning, or a light appliance. Certainly we can put the inverter on and power those. However, the air conditioning, if you have fully charged batteries, we haven't tried it, but we've heard and kind of guesstimate that you could maybe run the AC for 2 hours, but then it's going to kill your batteries, and if you're not plugged in, it's just not worth it for that. Yeah, so the one beef I do have about this van is the windows. Again, you'll never get everything perfect what you want, typically, so you have to make some compromises along the way. But these windows, I absolutely do not like. They're a slider window. So what happens is when you go away, if you're in an area where you don't feel the security is great, you can't leave the window open. And because people can just grab it from outside and open it up and crawl in. So you have to close them when you go away. That's why I have those louvered vents in the front windows, so that it can let a bit of air in with the fantastic fan going to give us some circulation at least. But also the other big problem with these is when it rains, you got to shut them because the rain just comes pouring in. And on our old Roadtrek that we had, they had the tip out ones on it with a little handle screw thing, and we liked them a lot better because again, you didn't have the security issues. Nobody could get through them. You didn't get rain in because they were on a 45-degree angle when they were open. Overall, they just seem very poorly constructed and that, but that's what it is. The other thing they have, which isn't too bad, is they've got blackout shades for at night, and they also have, you can pull this that way. They also have a screen that you can open part way and do that, however you want to mix and match it. These screens though, they seem very frail. I don't think they're going to last that long. But again, that's really my biggest complaint about this is the windows. Other than that, like the tint and everything, they're nice and they look great outside, but I don't find them that functional. So again, when you're shopping for one of these things, there's so many different makes and layouts and things like that. And some things you're going to have to compromise on, but you really need to sit down and figure out what's going to make you the most comfortable while on the road for long periods of time, because it really does make a difference. And like I alluded to before, the bed issue with our old one just wasn't ideal. I couldn't sleep for long periods of time with my head and feet hitting both ends. So that was a major concern. Yeah, so another important thing is storage. And like I said, these upper cupboards are quite adequate. They give us a lot of storage. Um, but below here, since we don't really have a garage in the back, like the ones that have you can get the side-facing sofa like we've got, or you can get the forward-facing, and they have a little bit of room underneath. It's not really big, but you can get stuff in there. So going to this open galley thing, the advantages are you can get long things in here, like bikes or paddleboard or something like that if you wanted to. That's the main advantage. But you do have a lot of storage. There's all kinds of storage. There's 4 on this side of these drawers. And I just have like our jack, a bunch of spare parts, you know, if we're on the road, and it's something that I can take care of myself, and I always have, you know, some tools and things like that. And then we've got 2 more on this side. But what I tend to do, since we keep the bed down all the time, is put all the stuff that we use the least, and sometimes we never use, but we need to have it on board just in case. I put it in those compartments so that if we do have to get something, it's very seldom that we got to break the bed up to get it. So it's really hasn't been a big deal, but there is a lot of space under there, and has been really nice. Here we have a wardrobe, which we don't have any hanging clothes. We fold all our clothes and put them up. They're going to be wrinkly anyhow, so you know it doesn't really matter. But we have basically a little armoire here, and we just have a hanging thing that has a bunch of pockets to throw, you know, toiletries and you know, different things like that, small things in there. And it works quite well for keeping all that little stuff, loose stuff, you know, together in one place without having a problem. Another thing we added, which is really nice, is didn't come, it should come standard equipment, but doesn't, but is a pull-out counter for under there. Now, I was on a Roadtrek forum on Facebook, and there was a gentleman who came up with this, and he made them. And so I got him to make me one and ship it to me from the States. We're in Canada. And the guy's a craftsman. It just looks like it came right out of a store. And the reason why this thing is so valuable is because you can never have enough counter space when you're cooking. You're always looking for a place to set something. So having that there works out so well as down here. This comes standard, is another countertop. And so when you're basically cooking, you've got your 2-burner stove. It's a little small to try and put a big pot on there, but it works, and we use it a lot. The top on here was just a little marine top, and it was really not ideal. So I went on to AliExpress or Ali.com, and I got this this flexible one that I just put on there with a clamp, and it works so much better. And you can you know, move it around and everything, where the other one, you know, half the time you'd pull it up and it'd squirt you right on your front and that. But so when you're doing dishes, I mean, this is ideal because you've got your dirty dishes over here. You basically can put this down and have some of them here too as well. And then you can wash them and then set them there to be dried. So you've got those stations all along. And then it's the same with cooking. You know, when you're cooking, you know, half the time I'll have that closed, I'll have that open, I'll have be chopping up food here, I'll have some ingredients sitting there, and other ingredients, you know, sitting here. So you've got a good flow for cooking and that. But this thing absolutely was a game changer. We needed just that exact amount of space to make it ideal for having enough room. And then up here we got our little spice rack, magnetic. Just got these little magnetic cans. You can get them probably on Amazon. And I just filled them, and they don't move around at all. They're there and haven't fallen once in the whole time. But we also have a 700 watt microwave. I think I'm going to take it out. We just do not use the microwave. We don't really find there's a need for it, and that could be more valuable space. Half the time we end up putting the bread and you know, other stuff, just packing it in there. But And plus it uses more of your battery power too. So if you're boondocking a lot like us and you don't want to run your battery down, then you're best not to be running the inverter a whole lot. You know, it definitely, you know, helps to save on your battery power for sure. So the second thing that was a game changer in this one compared to our last one, and it was, we only really had two things that we said has to be different in our new van. The one was the bed, the second one was the fridge. We had in our other one a small fridge. I don't know what they are, 3 cubic feet or something, and they're way down low on the floor, and you had to get down and you had to try and open the door, and then everything would fall out, and there was hardly any room in there for food, let alone drinks and that. So this design is awesome. Everything's right up at your the level that you want to look into. It's about a 5 cubic foot, I believe, fridge. There's lots of room in it for drinks and for food and everything like that. And the other thing is, it's got a freezer that's way bigger than, I know it maybe doesn't look it, but it actually is much bigger than what it looks. And we can get a lot of stuff in there, where our other one, you know, you could get hardly anything in there. But again, it's at a perfect height. You're not down on your knees trying to, you know, grab at stuff. And yeah, that's definitely been, like I say, a game changer. So another nice thing about the kitchen being where it is this is your view when you're parked somewhere. You are sitting here. Again, there's the countertops and cooking, and there's a big screen that fits with these little clips, and it goes all the way around and down to the bottom. And in the center, it's got magnets, so they just close, they're self-closing, and they keep the bugs out, and they work really well. But it is definitely a nice view when you're parked somewhere and you're wanting to cook. Another thing just above the door is the control panel. And so what we have here is we have two lithium battery disconnects. So again, 200 ampere hours of lithium on for one module and another 200 for that module. And you can turn one on and leave the other off, whatever you want to do. It basically, you know, doesn't matter. Then here we have a switch for the patio light, the water pump, the power step, the inverter to turn it on if you want to plug in a AC appliance, and then your battery disconnect switch, and it'll read your voltage right there. And then it gives a little liquid propane readout there saying 2/3 full, and then fresh water tank, it's empty, and all the other tanks are empty pretty much. But yeah, and then the last button is the awning. That's what I was powering it in and out with. So everything's all basically controlled from that point. It also comes standard equipped, which it should, with a smoke detector. It also has down here a CO detector, so that with the propane in that, it's important. Or if you know, you're running something that's gas, you don't want to be you know, getting carbon monoxide in the air, because obviously it'll kill you. That's our furnace right there. Over here beside it, I usually stock all our Kleenex and toilet paper and all that in here. There's just the water valves for the hot water heater and for the whole unit, as well as a controller for the hot water heater. But we usually just fill it up with stuff that we need. And again, that's our 2000 watt inverter to get the AC power. With the inverter, if you don't need it, you should turn the button off up over the door on the control panel, because it does use power and will drain your batteries a lot quicker. Yeah, so in the kitchen, back to the kitchen here, we do have storage for basically a pull-out drawer for cutlery and can openers, stuff like that. Have a plug there. Elaine uses this for her clothes because it's the reason being is it's handy for her. If she used one of these cupboards and you have the bed there, you got to kind of step up in the bed and climb back and get in, and it's not that comfortable for her to do that. I can just reach right up and kind of grab stuff out because I'm taller, so that's why she uses that. Over here we put like small appliances and tea kettle, you know, and dishwashing stuff and all that in there. Another awesome feature that was really and a bonus for sure was it has a huge drawer, and it is big, and there is all kinds of room. I know some people use that for their clothes and that, but for pots and pans and all your dishes and that's an awesome storage drawer. And they have the locks. Those just lock basically so that when you're driving, things don't fly open, just like the fridge has a catch and that, because if you don't put all the locks on, everything's flying all over the place when you're driving. So the first thing we do before we get hitting the road is we go and we make sure every door is locked and covered. Otherwise, stuff comes crashing down, guaranteed. Another really cool add-on here that was not an add-on, but it came standard, was a pantry. And it has a great pull-out pantry, and it's really nice for that tall stuff and all your canned goods and oils and you name it and that. But it really is a good use of space, and we really enjoy that. Also, we have a storage compartment up here overhead. It tends to be the junk place. We do put some food up there and that, but it kind of tends to be where we just, if we don't know where to put something, it's up there, which is a problem because you've got to pull everything out to find that one thing that's usually in the back on the bottom and that. But other than that, we have our fantastic fan that has a remote. I'd rather not have a remote, because if you lose it, then how do you run it? But it has one nevertheless, and it does work well. We have the rain hood on it so that if it rains, then we don't have to close it up. Our old camper that we had, we didn't have a rain hood, and it was kind of a pain because, yeah, when it rained you had to close it, and then if it's hot, then you're hot. So definitely well worth putting the hood on there as well. We have a organizer basically for the back seat here, just to put stuff like that we may need to grab really quickly from the door or whatever, like flashlights, hand sanitizer, bug repellent, tissues, umbrellas, that sort of stuff. It works out really well just to kind of keep that stuff all in one place for when you need it. They also put here, just like the back, they also put a USB connector right there, and they put another AC plug-in there and a 12-volt plug-in there. So they put lots of these things in here, which is really nice. And then we also have another plug that's GFI protected down there as well. Okay, so leaving one of the most important things to the last, we're not quite there yet, but is always the throne. You gotta have that for those nighttime pee breaks or you know, emergencies that we try not to have happen in here, but inevitably you can't always control that. But it has a decent size for what it is. It's got a sink here, it's got a toilet and a drain in the back. There's a I have a disconnector right now, but there's a sprayer that attaches there for the shower right down to behind the tap, and there's a curtain here that pulls across. So it's a wet shower. It's got some, you know, places to put your soap and all that stuff and shampoo. It's not big, but you know, we're in a van, so you know, it is what it is. But we don't really use the shower. We typically don't shower at all, but just kidding. We try and hit, campgrounds once in a while so we can dump our tanks and go have showers and, or get a membership at a fitness club if we're going to be gone for a long period of time and that. There's different ways of doing it. But so far, again, we haven't really used it, but we've got the ability that if we need to, it's got a towel rack, toilet paper holder, a little light here. It's waterproof. It's got all the basics, everything you need. So yeah, now up in the cab, it's basically, pretty standard, The only thing I will say that I dislike as well, but I've gotten used to it, and actually I don't find it a problem now, is this has a telescopic steering wheel, but it doesn't tilt. And I've thought at first that was pretty uncomfortable and I wasn't overly happy, but I have gotten used to it. The other thing is there is an armrest on this side, which is awesome, but I kind of wish they had to put one on the passenger side as well. But again, that's the way they come, so there's not a lot you can do. There's also storage there and a glove compartment down here, and they even got this that pops up and put different stuff in there as well. Yeah, it's pretty standard, but it's got USB connectors and all that stuff. But also it's got these curtains, and I put them in. I put that curtain rod in, and they're blackout curtains for at night, and it does help keep heat up there too if it's during the day and that. But I'll show you them in a minute. But these chairs swivel, which is awesome, because we spend a lot of time at night, just kind of sitting there and that, and I'll show you how they work. Okay, so it's definitely a must-have is swivels on these seats. It's really great when you don't have a lot of other room and your bed's made up all the time. But these things, basically, I just hit a lever. I can pull it right up like that and back. And see with this one. So there you have it. Got a place to sit at night. There is this like at the back there where I can pull that off, put a post in and bring the table here so we can sit and work on the computer or do whatever, eat or anything like that. They did have this fire extinguisher mounted right down here, which is a really poor spot because that's where your feet are. So I basically took it off and remounted at the side, which really helps a lot for not being in the way. So these curtains, they are really nice for at night. Or even if you're going out and you want to kind of keep some of the heat up front. Again, they're fully blacked out, and gives you privacy too when when you're getting changed or anything like that. So definitely a good addition. I wish they had to put them in standard. They should have, but anyhow, that was something I had to do myself. Yeah. So another part of the EcoTrek package that I almost forgot about was Volt Start, and basically it's a little button right here. And it, when it's put in the on position, it basically will monitor your battery voltage, your lithium batteries, so that if they get low, it will automatically turn the engine on, and then the alternator will start charging the batteries. That way, like if you were leaving for the day and you had pets in here and you had your fantastic fan going and you needed that circulation, or you're going to run your air conditioner for an hour while you're gone and the batteries got low, then it will automatically, again, start the engine, run it for, I believe, 30-35 minutes at a time. And it'll do that up to 5 times. And then it will have to be totally reset the system with that button to enable it again. But it's a really good technology. Like I said, if even if you're in the middle of the night and all of a sudden, you know, your furnace or your fridge, you know, you had low voltage and they wouldn't work, that'll automatically kick on and start charging your battery, so you're not dead in the water. So it's again Roadtrek's proprietary technology and part of the EcoTrek package. I believe it was somewhere around a $1,200 add-on, but yeah, it's really neat, and I could see it being very useful. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot to see up here, but I thought I'd give you a shot of the roof of the vehicle. There's our fantastic fan vent hood. Those are each 100 watt solar panels. Then in the back you've got the AC unit, and on each side of the AC unit you have 35 watts each of solar as well. So we've got a combined 270 watts of solar on the roof here. And then that's just the plumbing vent on the top part there. Anyhow, I think that pretty much concludes our tour. I hope it was comprehensive and gave everybody an idea of what's in these things. As you can imagine, none of them are cheap. They are expensive units. There is a lot that goes into them, and that's why. But if you're looking for one, take your time. You know, don't rush into it. And there's all kinds of different manufacturers out there. Do your research. You know, every layout works for different people, so you don't always have to compromise a whole lot, but there might be a few minor things. Just make sure the big things are taken care of, and that. So anyhow, we'll maybe do another review after we've had it and been on the road for longer, and that, which we hope to be this winter. So but so far, you know, no problems, and we're really enjoying it. So thanks for watching the tour here, and please, if you like the video, hit the subscribe button below, and click the notification bell beside it. That will allow you to receive notifications when we put out new videos. And thanks for coming along. Talk to you later.